From the moment she walked in the door, I knew something was wrong. My youngest daughter, my baby, my redhead, Libby, she had her head down and her shoulders slumped and a little teary-eyed. And she talked about how her day at school had been, how a couple of the girls in her class had invented a game called Libby Touch. They decided that she had a disease and that if they came in contact with her, that they would be infected with her disease. And soon that group of girls, through social pressure, it spread to the whole entire class, and Libby had to play recess by herself. You can imagine how I responded as a dad. I did what any good dad would do. I put on my steel-toe boots, my leather vest, and my do-rag, and I hopped right into my Subaru Forester station wagon because I was going to beat every one of those kids. And that's not what I did, but I wanted to. I was frustrated. I was the one that had taught Libby how to be original, how to march to her own beat and do her own thing. And now she was being tortured at school for it. What do? You send your kids to school, expect them to be in a safe learning environment so they can grow up to be productive members of society, and then they get bullied to the point of tears. What would you do? Would you switch schools? Would you teach them the old 1-2 so they can punch the other kid in the nose and defend it for themselves? Would you tell the administration that's their fault? They need to take control of the classroom. Or would you do nothing and let all those years of anger and frustration and bitterness build until one day they get a gun and walk into a school or a church? Or maybe suicide becomes their only option. My quest, my journey, I had to find an answer for Libby. I found an answer. In fact, I found the answer. The answer that's as old as wisdom itself. The answer that's found in the ancient texts of 21 of the world's major religions. The answer is known as the Ethic of Reciprocity. But we know it in our culture as the Golden Rule. Now, I knew the Golden Rule. My dad taught it to me. The man with the gold makes the rules. That's right. But the Golden Rule says, treat other people like you would want to be treated. The problem is that Libby didn't know the Golden Rule because, like many kids in schools today, she hadn't been taught it. And the reason why she hadn't been taught it is because I couldn't teach it, because I wasn't living it myself. Oh, sure, I lived a portion of the Golden Rule. I call it the brass idea. You know, the brass idea. You be good to me, and I'll be good to you. You be mean to me, forget about it. And up until this point, that's the example that my kids had to interact with each other. I was taught how to judge people as bad. Bad guy, cut me off in traffic. Bad guy, cheated me at the store. Bad guy, bullied my kid and made her cry. And I knew how to treat bad guys. I've been taught by all my childhood heroes. Hulk Hogan, the A-Team. Remember Mr. T? I paid a fool. You got the Justice League with Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. They taught me things like give them a taste of their own medicine, or fight fire with, yeah, you guys watch those same programs I did. And although that makes for a great story on television, in real life, can you imagine your house being engulfed with flames and the fire trucks pulling in, the firefighters jumping out with flamethrowers to extinguish the fire? It reminds me of what Gandhi said. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. So I needed to come up with a system, something that was simple and duplicatable that I could live and then give to my 3 kids. So I came up with 3 simple steps of how to enact the golden rule. And the first step is respond with kindness. There's an old proverb that says, a kind answer will turn away wrath. I picked the kindness first for 2 reasons. One, we've been programmed to treat other people the way we're treating us. So in other words, you treat me bad, I treat you bad, you treat me bad, and we create this cycle. But when I choose to respond, see, you've also been programmed to respond to me the way I treat you. So it would work like this. You treat me poorly, and instead of reacting, I choose to respond with kindness. Well, then it becomes really difficult to respond poorly to me. You respond nice to me, and then I respond with kindness to you. And then you respond nice to me. Now, you got to be careful, because this could potentially make you a lot of friends. The second reason why I chose kindness first is because you need to understand what bullies want. Bullies need that reaction. Bullies want that anger or that frustration or that hurt back. And when you choose to respond with kindness, you stop giving them what they want, and usually a bully will pick an easier target. The second idea is forgiving. And I got to tell you, this idea was really, really difficult for me. See, I had held in bitterness and anger and resentment. I had a fantastic memory, and I had a list of wrongs a mile long of things people had done to me in the past. And when I learned to get present, and I realized all that hurt and all that anger was causing pain inside, it's attributed to the Buddha of saying that unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting your enemy to die. The problem is that not only had I been drinking the poison, but the poison was starting to seep out as I was living that example to my kids. And once I got present with that feeling and that hurt and the anger, and I released it, there's a certain peace. I would call it the peace that passes understanding. And when I was able to have that peace, it's amazing how easy it was to teach that to my kids. The third idea is blessing. And blessing and forgiveness really go hand in hand. And it's not blessing in a religious sense. This is blessing in a humanitarian sense. Desmond Tutu said that we are all hurting and broken inside. And it's out of that brokenness that we have that we hurt others. It was when we started to realize that the reason why the kids are treating her mean is because they were broken. And when we started to connect to that humanity and that their brokenness, we were able to have compassion and bless them or pray for them, if you will, that their brokenness be whole and made complete so they would stop having the need to hurt other people. So it looks like this. Libby will come home from school and you can pretty much tell on her face that she's had a bad day. And I'll get down with her and I'll put my arm around her shoulder and I'll say, "Hey, Libby, tell me about it." And she'll tell me about what the kids did at school that day and how it really made her upset. And I'll say, "You know what, Libby? That was wrong. That makes me angry. They did that to you. You know what? I need to forgive that kid. Will you forgive them with me?" And we go through a forgiveness together. And after that, we connect to their humanity and we have compassion. Sometimes we even play the pain game where we think about pains that child might be having at home or with their brothers and sisters that might be causing that pain in their life that's causing them to hurt. I'll be perfectly honest with you. There are some times that Libby has what we call a Dixie Chicks moment. She just ain't ready to make nice. In fact, the other day, with her sister Emma, they were fighting, and I pulled Libby aside and I said, "Libby, I saw what Emma did and that was wrong, let's forgive her." And she said, "No, Dad, I'm mad and I want to be angry. And you know what? That's okay. Because sometimes we need to have that anger and we need to get present with it in order to be able to release it. See, teaching this to my kids, oh God, there's some times when this has been really difficult and really frustrating. And sometimes it feels like it's not working. But then you get those times when you're listening to your son on the telephone and he's 15, he was talking to one of his friends at school who's getting bullied. And he's walking them through forgiveness. Or you get that time when you get that call from the teacher in the middle of the day and she says, Mr. Daniel, I just wanted to let you know that we had an incident at school and Libby got bullied. And we've taken care of it, but we just want to let you know so you can handle things when you get home. And I get home and I say, okay, Libby, what happened? And she says, well, a kid at school bullied me today, but it's okay, I forgive him. And then she hops off. That's when I know that this is really working. Again, I reiterate, living the golden rule for my kids, it has been a really funky journey for me. There's been times when it's been difficult, and there's been times when I didn't want to do it. And that's okay, I readjusted, I got present with myself, and I continued on. Because this is my journey. This is what I'm doing to raise the next generation. And now that we've been together for the last few minutes, this is your journey. So it comes to this. The next time somebody cuts you off in line, the next time they shortchange you, the next time they make your kid cry in school, what are you going to do about it? You're going to put on your steel-toe boots and your leather vest and your do-rag? Or are you going to respond with kindness, forgiveness, and blessing? That is my idea worth spreading. Thank you.